Hey everyone, my name's Elise. I'm part of the Hardware Meetup crew. So if you haven't been to Hardware Meetup before, we've been running since 2016, trying to showcase some of the coolest companies being built in New Zealand in the hardware space. So very special theme today, FutureFood. So we've got some awesome companies going to talk about their journey, and then we're going to get to try some of their products that's going to be at the end. So that's going to be super awesome. So format, that's all good. 3 speakers, around half an hour each. Between the second and third speaker, you're going to have the option to come up and pitch for things you need for 1 minute. So you'll be timed, and anyone can come up and pitch for anything that might be related to their job or their company. Maybe you want a new job. Maybe you're looking for an employee, or anything in between. So we've had a lot of success with this. A lot of people have got jobs and all kinds of amazing things for pitching for 1 minute. So yes, that will happen. Stand on. Yes. Okay, so we have 4 sponsors. The first one is Outset. So Outset Ventures is the space that we're in now. This is a deep tech co-working space. The team's going to talk about it later on. But yeah, if anyone's interested in desk space and hasn't been here before, who is in the Outset team? Here. Yes, 3 people. So if you see any of this team, feel free to go up and chat with them about desk space here, or getting a tour, or understanding more about how they help companies with, space and all kinds of other things, and investment. Second speaker, Hudson Gavin Martin. Where's the Hudson Gavin Martin team? Hudson Gavin Martin are a specialist technology law firm, and they will meet with you and chat about hardware-related law topics if you go and chat with the team. So chat with 2 women from Hudson Gavin Martin today if you get an opportunity and you have legal questions. Third one is Blender. Blender team, hands. Blender is product development specialist company and can help you with like designing all kinds of amazing hardware stuff. So there, chat with them too. And then Blackbird Ventures is a couple of Blackbird Ventures team here, one of the largest VC firms in Australasia, investing in, the coolest companies out there. So yeah, they're here too. Cool. And yeah, thank you so much for your support. We couldn't put this on and, provide that good pizza and all these bits and pieces without you. So thank you. So housekeeping. So yeah, we've got food and drink. So we've got some beer. We've got a few non-alcoholics. I'm not sure how many have left. We've got some beer on tap and a little bit of wine left. And then at the end, we'll have samples. So about halfway through, we'll set up like the companies that are talking, and you'll get to try some of their stuff. So if something catches on fire, just like pop out the door, out the road, down the corridor, and yeah, the doors should hopefully be open. And the bathrooms let down the hallway as well. So halfway down the hallway, you'll find the bathrooms very easy. Cool. So the first company we're going to talk about is Lilo. Is that the Lilo? Lilo is the first company. I didn't check beforehand how to say it, but we're here now. So Russell is the co-founder, and I'm gonna pass the mic to you, and we're gonna talk about Lilo.
So Lilo is this is Lilo, and Lilo's we're a desserts company, and we're sort of playing with this idea of desserts have kind of been old and boring for some time. And I guess our Venn diagram is sort of desserts are kind of dull. There's a lot of opportunity there to kind of change things, and then this sort of idea that there's a lot of problems to fix in the world, around our oceans are rising, and
also I love like the second slide says sex and HIV. I don't think we've had that before.
Yeah, it's all about impact, on the second slide. So I think this sort of captures the moment we're in at the moment, where we're sort of like, okay, what do we do now? And what's our, individually or as a company, what part are we playing in that? And this is sort of, I guess, our vehicle for that. It is cheesecakes. Everyone loves the unassuming cheesecake. The insight sort of came from, I guess, the new idea, which is like the 2 previously unrelated ideas coming together, was everyone loves cheesecake, and there's this really big problem around basically food waste in New Zealand, or globally actually. So the idea was, we had this friend called Chaz down in Central Otago. He had like a large cherry orchard. He'd sunk his life savings into it, and basically he was sort of slowly going bankrupt as year on year, like the rain would come down, trash a crop, and he'd lose $1 million worth of cherries. And he'd like, because these are kind of, everything's built for grown for export to China. It's got to be like perfect sort of full lush cherries. Any kind of defects, it's worthless. So we thought, could we take that kind of those waste cherries, or that waste stream, and sort of upcycle it or revalue it into something new. And so cheesecake's the one. This is one of the SKUs. So coming back to kind of that fruit waste problem, it's pretty big. So like 1,000 metric tons every year are wasted in Central Otago, and they'll just get like thrown. They'll rot on the ground. Nothing will happen with them in general. So, and the kind of the criminal thing is that this is like the best fruit in the world. Like it's literally like the most nutrient rich fruit you can get, and where just because it looks a bit weird or it's a bit damaged, it just gets binned. So we're kind of trying to work with that. And then the sort of other idea that basically desserts are pretty old and stodgy as far as the category goes. Not much has changed. Betty Crocker or Cereally is still like that kind of stable product in the freezer. Tip Top haven't done anything cool for a while now. So I guess we're sort of like trying to kind of refresh that category. So with all the hoop and holler and stuff, we kind of have to be like fundamentally better or measurably better. So we're kind of playing on this idea of half the sugar, and like a strong focus on basically dairy free. So sort of like we had this realization actually quite a few years ago. We first started it was a dairy cheesecake. We're like this idea of like the best fruit in the world, the best dairy should be going to Asia, and then we built it. Sold a few, then we sort of realized actually this feels a bit weird, like, and then what's the future? Really the future of New Zealand dairy is no cow. So we kind of restarted, went through a big R&D cycle again, and came back to dairy free. So this is sort of how how Lilo, the brand, comes to life. It's sort of like the product is the hero, kind of, you've still got to do that kind of appetite appeal thing, and it's very kind of purpose led, and we're trying to talk about like the people and provenance, which is sort of the key, our kind of golden ticket, I guess you could say, in New Zealand. And this is, I guess now this is the more fun part. So it's just sort of like the I guess the journey. So my background is sort of more hardware design. So this is sort of one of the earlier food products I've done. So I kind of come at everything from like a hardware development sort of mindset. And the first step was to sort of basically make something as quickly as we can and see if people liked it. And that's how it started. The trick to this one was we kind of went from benchtop to factory as quick as possible. So we skipped a lot of we didn't spend much time in food bowl, sorry. But like that's always that's a bit of a getting kind of stuck in that pilot cycle was a risk we found. So we went straight from benchtop to basically trying to find a scale manufacturer who could produce our product at volume and at a cost point which we could actually sell it. So here's some early samples. Obviously we're kind of digging out a few problems here. The topping slides off of the carton, tips over, and then we're just giving it to people to kind of give feedback on. Originally, like our kind of key market was, we thought, okay, we're going to Asia because that's sort of like me and Alex, the co-founder, that's our kind of background. We kind of knew that market, we had kind of contacts there. So this was sort of like testing in China, but yeah, so good feedback, and then you just sort of basically iterate. You kind of get feedback, change a few things, keep going and going and going, and then you kind of try to make something as fast as possible, and as cheaply and as fast as possible. So this is us sort of basically, this is how we did packaging. It's a craft knife and a printer, and then we put it on shelf, like literally in New World, without their permission. So we just rocked in with our cheesecakes, put them on the shelf. We found a price tag, which was like kind of close to what we wanted to be, which is $12. Took lots of cool photos, And then that was sort of like, okay, this is like, how does the product perform on shelf? How does it look? And you just sort of stand back and watch and see what people do until someone kind of finds out and you get in a bit of trouble. But this is the sort of, this is how you do it. I think so. You kind of test early and often, and you're trying to be, I guess the secret be a little bit wrong very often rather than like really wrong, but waiting many months. So
Nice.
thank you. So this is sort of like our first big win. So we won Food Starter, which is sort of like a national competition run by foodies to, like, if you win, you get range nationwide. So we won, and that meant it was sort of like it was like a shot in the arm for us. So we had to have, okay, great, we've got 120 stores. Can you deliver? And the answer was no, because we're still kind of trying to solve a few problems in the back end.
What were you trying to solve?
So the old is it working? Basically our first contract manufacturer pulled the rug out from under us. So that was sort of like you kind of build it. Yeah. So it all kind of set out, and then they basically couldn't deliver. So we had to go back into another big cycle of basically trying to find who's going to make our dessert for us. This is working. It might go haywire in a minute. But yeah, so that was like a classic, like the product itself is a small part of the equation. There's many other things like layers in the hardware where you're trying to basically with any product development, you're trying to basically dig up all the bodies as fast as possible, so like find out where the problems are buried. So making a product and trying to get it on shelf is sort of like an accelerated version of like trying to figure out where all the gremlins are. So you build a product, then you kind of build a brand, and you kind of trying to build this brand language which sort of represents all these things. So that's kind of the fun part. And then as I mentioned, so we won Food Starter, huge opportunity. Investors are like, okay, where's this? How's everything going? And then we had to basically reset, go back to the drawing board and find a whole new production partner, which we did down in Christchurch. And that's sort of what our latest success is built on. So it's sort of that relationship with a manufacturer who believed in the vision, and kind of sees us as complementing their setup. So this is us around the table, basically kind of figuring out how we're going to do it, how we're going to get it done. These guys are in Rangiora. There's Frank, the GM. There's June, their food tech. Sue's their salesperson, and then us on the other side with our food techs trying to basically solve problems. And then this is our first product essentially. So the 140 grams sort of cheesecake and summer fruit and lemon and golden kiwi. And this is the first production run. So we built this this little, basically a mini production line, so we can kind of service foodies quite quickly. It's a bit labor intensive, but enable us, we could do a few thousand a day, kind of okay. And this is our first run. And this is quite a big moment for us because it's sort of like our first legit product, and that's sort of like a. Is it? Yeah, and this is any designer, like the best part is when like you see someone buying your product or your kid having a good time in New World. So yeah, you've still got to pay for it though. That's the weird thing. I've got a bootload of them in the car, but I still want to go in and buy them. Yeah, and then this sort of relationship again, like this is Frank, the GM again, so they're like super involved. This is my birthday cake. Yeah, so I think it's just coming back to that idea of the sort of who you're building it with, and this idea of trying to make something for real, so get out of that prototype pilot thing as quickly as possible by legit manufacturing. And that's sort of the hard bit, especially in New Zealand. Sometimes we're a bit limited, especially when it comes to plant-based product manufacture. It's like a huge hurdle to get over. these are just some, this is our latest packaging. So we were down there last week commissioning a new machine. So we've kind of gone from our little baby machine to this new big grunty thing behind these guys, which is like a full scale hunter filler machine. And we can do like 3,500 to 5,000 cakes a day, I think. And like a special gluten-free certified environment. So like celiac and all that sort of stuff. So we can service airlines, food service, all that kind of stuff. And this is sort of coming back to that relationship again, where you're kind of building a partnership with a lot of people. You've got your manufacturing partner, you'll have your sales partners, you have your in-market partners. And these are Ron and Frank donning their Lilo tie-dye t-shirts and a sign of commitment to the cause. When this is probably when we were probably running out of money and probably things were going to hell. But they kind of gave us a bit of a cheer up. So I think it really comes back to like who's helping you along that way, So yeah. And this is the kind of the roadmap, I guess, as we see it. So, singles, doubles, family. So just sort of like desserts 2.0, I guess. So I guess this is sort of like learnings and what's coming up next. So over the last 10 months, we've launched a new world. We've got feedback. It's sort of like a V1, I guess. So things have gone well. We've sort of built a team. We've kind of looking at the US market. Now I've got capacity to kind of grow for export. So Aussie and all that kind of stuff. And we had our Aussie distributor over last week in Christchurch, sort of like kicking tires, and that's sort of all going good. So yeah. Building blocks. So I think a learning for us was that you're kind of building one product, but you've got different markets, and every market kind of needs a different product or a different sort of version of it. So how to do that? But as a brand, you've kind of got to be principled in what you represent or why you're doing it. So where's the elasticity and how you message that stuff? So basically, these are our kind of 3 pillars, I guess you could say. I've got another half an hour to go. So this idea of like revalued. So we're kind of revaluing our food systems essentially. So that's like revaluing fruit, the growers as well. So that's sort of that idea of like added value. Health is a big one, especially in the dessert category. So less sugar, gluten-free, dairy-free is a big one. But fundamentally, to dessert, it's got to taste amazing. Otherwise, no one's going to buy it. So there's these kind of trade-offs, but different markets will stack differently, so in like APAC or China, like health will be the top kind of, that's what you'll lead with. New Zealand and Australia, the revalued story seems to work really well. And in the US, it's taste, and the other two kind of sit below that. So you kind of got these Lego blocks of how you go to market. And like through doing them, kind of trying to build this, it's basically like an operating system. Like we're trying to be agile in a way that we're not really dropping huge cash on a huge team and like huge kind of facilities or like hardware. We did buy that last piece of kit, but sometimes you got to drop some money. But this idea of like collaboration is really a key for us. So how we build like an operating system where parties can come together to kind of work like easily and fluidly. This idea of commercializing R&D, like I see this. Like coming back to New Zealand from China, I sort of was amazed at the depth, like so the talent, all this amazing IP and R&D, which is sort of sitting in these in universities or places like Planted Research, and it sort of just sits there. The scientists sort of finish it, they publish their paper, then they're on to the next, and it sort of doesn't go to market because they're kind of finished, So this idea of kind of undigging, finding these gems and then commercializing, and then basically communicating all that stuff. So yeah.
We might run out of time to do the next couple, but do you need anything from us?
So if you go to Lilo on LinkedIn, we're looking for a key account manager. We probably need some like food techs just for new recipe development and marketing. So we'll just be kind of rolling out, so that's Aussie New Zealand kind of campaign.
I know we're here. that can chat with you afterwards. Cool. I'm gonna thank you, Russell. I'm gonna open straight up to questions. The question was, what are the thoughts on carbon zero labeling, Lilo?
Yeah, so that's something we'd like to get to. I think we're trying, that's sort of like another next V2 maybe, like this sort of like B Corp, all that sort of stuff, and carbon neutral. So we're looking at the moment we've got this plant-based or like dairy-free. We are looking at ways to do dairy, so maybe like a carbon neutral dairy, for example, could be a way to do dairy in a more like ethical way. So I think that it's a great a way to simplify our kind of, a KPI for us. But yeah, into it, but yeah, a lot of work to go.
The question was like, have you gone any other way with the base ingredient that's not dairy? Oh, what, non-dairy?
It's a coconut base, cream and base. Yeah. And we're still trying to basically put numbers around that. But yeah, that was as base, I think taste made that kind of an easy choice. But coconut's not, obviously has some problems, but yeah, work to be done.
Okay, so this question was some praise for the Venn diagram and how they're utilizing that methodology.
I think collaboration is probably just a bit about being a bit more open book, like kind of sharing more. Like I think you kind of see a lot of startups, tech especially, being quite protective of not IP ideas or what they're doing. When I think we've always found, like, if you're quite open about your, why you're doing it, where you're going, new insights that people reciprocate. It's just sort of like just sharing more, I think, and being open to new ideas, and yeah, just getting out and talking to interesting people. I think a model of, collaboration, like how it's done specifically, kind of depends on the project, I guess. But yeah, I think just wanting to work with lots of different people is sort of important.
Do most people know what a LILO is?
And like, so did I tell you what it stands for? So it's last in, last out. So it's sort of like this idea of basically finding like leaving the place better than when you arrived, so cleaning up, just trying to improve things a little bit. So there could be a bit of post rationale in there, but we just like the name.
Lilo's the thing that flowed down the river. Cool. Thank you, Russell. Cool. Let's crack in. We're now going to talk to Hamish from New Fish. Hamish, what is New Fish?
Kia ora koutou. New Fish is a biotechnology company with a focus on FutureFood, the blue economy, and fermentation.
What economy?
The blue economy. So my background is in marine science and commercial fisheries. New Zealand has an exceptionally large marine territory, and the focus of my career and now of New Fish is very much about exploring the opportunity of doing more with our marine territory than I guess the extractive industries that the focus of our marine environment and our typical maritime industries. So the mission that New Fish is currently on is to deliver nutrition without compromise. And at heart, I believe that speaks to unlocking the enormous potential of microalgae. The short answer to what is New Fish is we are a company seeking to produce high quality food ingredients from microalgae. The real potential in microalgae is both in unlocking enormous human nutrition that's scalable, and also in creating a new food production system and industry for New Zealand that essentially meets the needs of the future in terms of feeding the extra 2 billion mouths we're going to have on the planet by 2050, which we simply don't have the arable land to produce the protein for, and also doing so in a way that is without the negative externalities we know exist in our legacy or traditional food production systems.
Cool. So what have you produced so far? Can we see what it looks like?
Sure. Well, we've produced a few things thus far. New fish, we set out on this journey late 2020, and at that stage, I guess we're exploring a range of opportunities within space. One of our colleagues is a chef by the name Vaughan McBee. He's the executive chef down at Amersfield Restaurant in Queenstown. He has worked at some of the world's top restaurants. Noma in Copenhagen is probably the most notable of them, but back here in New Zealand, he's got a bit of a reputation for being a sort of rogue creative genius. He has produced some amazing products in the kitchens he's worked in, and down south he's sort of got a forager type mentality and a passion for New Zealand seafood, kai moana, which I share. So some of the products he had created really resonated with me, which really led to my involvement in New Fish. And to begin with, we set out to commercialize or seek to commercialize a range of products that he had produced, and this is the first of them. It is a naturally fermented French-style salami utilizing our native endemic Blackfoot paua or bologna. It is certainly not a vegan product. It has sort of high quality karabuta pork. It has seaweed or macroalgae, being Karawa kelp, and our paua, and it embraces a whole lot of principles which we thought were representative of what we hope to achieve with the venture. Full utilization in terms of utilizing all of the offcuts, so to speak, and what we were really hoping to do was move New Zealand away from this commodity mindset. We're really good at pulling things out of the ocean or growing things and putting it in a box and sending it overseas for someone else to add value to. So we thought this was a good means of adding value to I guess, well, there's a huge backstory to this that could take up the entire 15 minutes, but ultimately we took lease on a site in Onehunga, which we've been exploring a range of products, and we have commercialized the paua sauces on and achieved what we initially set out to, which was really to achieve a sort of bluff oyster type price point for a slice of this product. And currently we've got it being distributed nationwide through wholesale distributors and being served by the slice on a front cabin in New Zealand service across Asia Pacific and soon to be trans-Tasman routes. So this product to some extent led us into algae and the opportunity that algae presents.
Quick question. So the sausage came before the algae?
I've been paying close attention to the potential of a seaweed industry here in New Zealand or macroalgae industry through working in the seafood industry. And the paua sauces one has kelp in it. The potential of algae in terms of being a highly efficient source of nutrition with exceptionally low environmental impact is massive. And although the paua sauces is not a vegan or plant-based product, these other products which we have been developing are. So they're all plant and algae based, really world first type products, which don't necessarily fit any specific category, and they all explore the use of algae you find here in New Zealand. Nevertheless, macroalgae comes with an awful lot of challenges operating in the New Zealand marine environment. Huge operational burden for any aquaculture operation that would be occurring in open ocean if you were going to scale it. The stakeholder dynamics within New Zealand's marine environment are just dysfunctional, to say the least. So what we're doing at New Fish now is really looking to cultivate microalgae, which is essentially photosynthetic unicellular seaweed at scale, and then to process the biomass into what you might consider as sort of dairy type equivalent dried protein powders. So it's a mission that's going to require enormous scale, but New Zealand has, we've got the dairy expertise, we've got the protein expertise, the, funnily enough, microalgae expertise, albeit not necessarily in food yet. It's a big idea, and we're all really excited about it. So that's the idea at the moment.
Oh, that is incredible. So this is kind of an idea of what the protein, like how will people use the protein powder? Will it be very similar to the way they use protein powder now, are you thinking?
Yeah. Sorry, our focus is initially on the US sports nutrition market for a number of reasons, but we are seeking to, as I said, produce it at a sort of dairy industry equivalent type scale, and for that reason, targeting B2B sales globally. So really tapping into New Zealand's dairy supply chain and our expertise in that space, and hoping that we can create products that are sort of everyday, craveable, delicious products that people will not have to sort of weigh up pros and cons of using the product because it doesn't necessarily taste good or function in the way it needs to.
Yeah, so what does it taste like, this protein stuff?
Well, as some of you may be aware, microalgae is considered a health food currently, and I often joke that just means that it doesn't taste any good, otherwise it would just be called food. The challenge there is I think most of the sort of baggage from a flavor perspective comes from the chlorophyll or the certain parts of the organism which are challenging. So by processing it in at scale, the operation looks like a yeast cultivation facility coupled with the downstream processing of a dairy facility or a whey protein manufacturing facility. And by processing it or fractionating it, you can certainly target products that taste far more desirable. And that's currently where our efforts are going into a huge amount of R&D around the cultivation and the downstream processing, with a real focus on nutrition, complete amino acid profile, which is hard to achieve with most plant-based products that are out there currently, and then the functionality side of things. Working with a whole range of really fantastic partners within the New Zealand science and technology ecosystem. So really strong partnership with the Cawthorne Institute in Nelson, which is New Zealand's largest marine research organisation, and they've got a fairly world-renowned culture collection of microalgae that's extensive and a real asset for us to be working with. Callaghan Innovation and their protein science team, who we're doing some great work with at the moment. And then on the more consumer-facing side of things, the Redette Institute in Palmerston North. On top of that, global partnerships with similar startups in the space. Sophie's Bionutrients is one of note. Also teeing up some in-market partnerships. Recently signed an agreement with a company, Socius Ingredients in the United States, who's sort of the B2B partner we would be seeking to sort of scale this opportunity with.
Cool. What's your next?
No questions? These are this is possibly my last slide. These are shots from our development kitchen or Vaughan's kitchen. So these are the bright blue photo is utilizing cyanin, which is a extract from microalgae used as a pigment or a food coloring. And the other three shots are sort of creative prototypes in terms of utilizing the microalgae protein for microalgae based mozzarella and protein bars. So yeah, sort of speaks to Vaughan and how he approaches things.
Looks delicious. What do you need help with?
What do we need help with? On a personnel side of things, we're interested in speaking with anyone who this venture speaks to, specifically protein engineers with a background in downstream processing within the dairy industry. I mean, microalgae industry preferably, but I think there's not too many out there. Further to that, you know, we're currently raising capital, so certainly hoping to build partners who really believe in the mission and get the right mix of investors together, and that will hopefully enable hiring and growing a team to take this opportunity to the world.
I think there's a microalgae person over there sitting on the couch. You can chat with her. Do you know her?
Don't.
Oh, cool. Well, you'll be able to meet. Awesome. Thank you so much, Hamish. That was amazing. And you're sticking around to the end, and then we'll get to try some of the delicious products that I'm super excited about because I just have no idea what to imagine. So thank you.
I believe the question was, to what extent have we tested these products with other commercial partners? Perhaps it's important to note the work that Vaughan's doing is really around. I guess we're conscious that there's a sales pitch around microalgae as a delicious food source that you know. I just touching on it. Yeah, we need to tell the story about microalgae, all of its benefits, what we're building here. At the same time, the reality of where we're at as a business is the focus is very much on research and development. We are screening native and endemic strains of microalgae from New Zealand to put into our pipeline of work, because the quickest path to market is utilizing traditional microalgae species that have you sort of FDA GRAS approvals, but we're conscious of the potential and the diversity of microalgae and how that can be utilized. So there's a lot more work to be done in the development of the cultivation process technology. We will be exploring the nutrition and functionality sides of things in applications, but yeah, there's a lot of work to do, and you can rest assured that when we're producing it by the ton, we'll be knocking on your door.
So we've been chatting about downstream. What about upstream?
Upstream is certainly an undertaking. If if you're familiar with the precision fermentation space, there's, most of the conversations around this infrastructure gap. There simply aren't the facilities or the capital coming online to build all of these next generation facilities that will enable these new industries to be built. Specifically talking to the cultivation side of things, there's a lot to speak to there. We're pursuing various production models, but ultimately we believe it's very achievable because the yeast industry currently achieves it, cultivating microorganisms at sufficient scale. Furthermore, by utilizing extremophile microalgae strains which grow at high temperature and low pH, we actually think we can both make the process far more efficient from an energy perspective, but also eliminate a lot of the contamination risk which industries such as the yeast industry deal with.
Have they considered feedstocks in agriculture? Aquaculture?
There's an awful lot of interest in that space. Cawthron, for example, are very, very interested in actively working in the development of it. The reality is with microalgae and cultivating at scale, there's obviously a value chain there which is quite extensive. Right down the bottom, you've probably got the likes of biofuels and potentially aquaculture feed. Above that, commodity food ingredients will hopefully sit at the higher end of that on the value chain, but then all the way through to your nutraceuticals, cosmeceuticals, pharmaceuticals. Cawthron are currently producing a microalgae-derived local anesthetic potential replacement to opioid painkillers that retails at $5 million a gram. So yeah, it's impressive.
At what scale will it be cheaper than traditional alternatives?
Well, we're certainly, our model targets parity with dairy protein. I think the more realistic or short-term goal is to reach parity with other plant-based proteins that are out there. I think, again, at scale, we believe we can get there, parity with dairy or other animal-derived proteins. But, being honest, there's a lot of assumptions built into that model still. We expect there to be sort of pressures which are conducive to achieving that, coming from both ends, both with traditional and legacy protein sources becoming more and more expensive as we essentially demand more accountability about all of the externalities that they produce. Likewise, with increasing capital and investment into the space, we think we will see the trend and essentially, allowing us to lower that price point in due course.
Cool. So we got our stopwatch up here for a minute, and we got at least 3 people that want something that are going to jump up.
All right, welcome to Outset Ventures. My name is Imsha, and we're all about supporting science and engineering founders from the outset. We provide startups with space, investment, and community. So first of all, space. You can see some of our co-working desk spaces up here, but what happens on the 3 floors below us is where the exciting stuff is. We have about 5,000 square meters of laboratory and workshop space, specifically built for your research and development activities. Rentable, of course, on startup-friendly terms. 2, investment. We invest largely in pre-seed and seed stage companies into rounds anywhere between 100,000 and 10 million. Our average check size is about 400,000. We like to talk about investing in atoms, not bits. So anything hard science or engineering, biotechnology, recycling and clean technologies, industrial chemistry, robotics, but never pure software. Thirdly, community. We are the largest community of deep technology startups in the country, and we like to bring our community together as often as possible. So there's often never... There's often no one better for you to learn from than someone who's in the trenches with you building their own startup. So my ask, feel at home, you are. Join our mailing list for more events like this. And if you're building something, come and have a chat to us. We'd love to help.
Awesome. David's next.
Okay, hi there. So one of the things I'm helping Outset Ventures with is this concept of, I don't know, outset.engineering maybe. The idea is it's sort of like a makerspace, but at a commercial level. And so the idea behind it is if you're one of the companies that are based here, or you're external to Outset, and you need access to engineering equipment like lathes, CNC, laser cutters, electronics, product testing. We've got a thermal chamber, we've got a shaker table. So yeah, we're basically speccing it out at the moment. So we've got about 100 square meters and we're just working out what we want to put in there, but we're also looking for feedback from people in terms of what equipment they might want and need. And we're sort of starting to build it out. So that's the concept at the moment. So if you'd like to find out any more about it, talk to me, talk to Imcha and anyone else from the Outset Ventures.
Hey, I'm Helena and I'm from Sonntag, and all I want from you is just try some samples of my plant-based cheese. So unless you have a nut allergy, then
no worries. Hi, everyone. I've got a company called Metrovate, and we're designing ways to make plants grow faster with bioactive molecules. I'm looking for a software engineer, someone that wants to get their hands dirty on modeling molecules and how they interact. And I feel like they might be here. So if you're interested by what I'm up to, come have a chat. It's a sort of long discussion of what we're actually doing and how we're simulating molecules. So yeah, it's me.
Good evening, everyone. We good? Come across something recently. Does anyone know how much cubic meters of wood is sitting on top of Gisborne at the moment? Any guesses? 2,000? Too much? Yeah, I think there's in the realms of 400,000 cubic meters of wood. And it's a pretty wicked challenge to try and solve. They've also got a lot of silt sitting over all of their fertile soils. And what we're trying to work on is how do you combust all of that wood, turn it into biochar, potentially get some microalgae into the mix, and then regenerate all of that soil in that region. So it's kind of one of those put the feelers out there kind of questions, but something we probably need to try and solve with the biotech people in the audience and try and, get them back to growing good food down there. Cheers.
So I am joined by Millie from Eat Kinda. What is Eat Kinda?
Kia ora, everyone. I'm Millie. So we're on a mission to help the world eat differently. What does that mean? Well, I think we can all agree, or hopefully we can all agree, that something's wrong with the food system at the moment, whether that be greenhouse gas emissions, climate change, animal welfare, food insecurity, whatever. There's a lot of problems, and I think we're all passionate about different areas of those problems, but I think we can agree something needs to change. The two facts I want to share that I've heard recently is, number one, I heard at a conference in Aussie recently that in 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the oceans than fish, which I thought was pretty insane. And another one is a smart man named Thomas in the States did some research that the way Americans eat meat will need another Earth, which I thought was also pretty insane. And that's because countries like Asia, even though we're here thinking, vegan, plant-based is going to be the next big thing, in those countries, dairy, meat is actually increasing, and that's for many, many reasons. And I think what we can kind of take from that is culturally, it's really hard to change the way we eat, whether that be, we all come from different religions, cultures, food's really emotional as well. And so that's where, me personally, I'm a food technologist. I feel like it's really important for us to make alternatives that actually solve people's problems when it comes to why they eat as well. And that's kind of what we're trying to do with Eat Kinda. Speaking about emotional eating, let's talk about ice cream, which is our first product. So that's me making some ice cream. I'll go into a bit of the backstory. So about 2.5 years ago, I went to a startup weekend in Hawera in Taranaki. I had just finished my food technology degree at Mercy in Palmerston North, and that's where I met my now co-founder, Jenny Matheson. Now, she's been vegan for about 20 years. She lives surrounded by dairy farms in Taranaki. Pretty funny, actually. She got told, growing her kids up vegan, she got a bit of backlash from the community. They told her she was being cruel to her children. Like, what are you doing? They need milk. So it was really important for her to make delicious foods for her friends and family. And that's where she came up with this amazing idea of using cauliflower to give a great texture product. And so she brought this idea along to Startup Weekend, and being a food techie, I was like, this is cool, let's give it a crack. And we did really well in that competition. And then afterwards we were like, very naively, let's give it a go. And back then, even 2.5 years ago, you know, vegan space in New Zealand is just kind of warming up. We're getting some products, but the ice cream category still had a lot of pain points that the consumers were facing. You know, the products tended to be hard, icy, didn't have that creaminess. They normally had that coconut aftertaste, which some people like, but some didn't. And so we were like, if we're going to do this, we're going to try and solve all these problems. And we think we have, and we've got some samples tonight, so you guys can tell me later what you think.
Talking quite a big game. I'm interested. I'm interested to try.
All or nothing, man. So kind of lost my thought. So anyway, so we went on this journey of trying to make the most sustainable and delicious ice cream in the world. By the way, we're aspiring to be the next Ben & Jerry's. And 2.5 years of R&D scaling. We started at Massey in the university, you know, doing 50-litre batches. And then I've got Chaleta here, who's our R&D technologist. Together we worked on scaling that up to, you know, like nearly 1,000 litres now at the food bowl. And now we're going on to contract manufacturing. So, you know, 2.5 years of all of that. 2 months ago, we launched into Hell Pizza nationwide, which was really, really exciting and really good validation. I'll talk to this one. So these are our 3 flavors. We've got a chocolate ripple, strawberry ripple, and a mint choc bicky. So all of these flavors are allergen friendly. So no added gluten, soy, nuts, all of that pretty much. Today, you'll be trying the double chocolate. So yeah, we launched into Hell Pizza practically in 4 weeks, sold out. Pretty stoked with those results. And now we have a 1-year contract, so we'll be relaunching in a few months and sort of having those early stage conversations with retailers to, you know, grow in the New Zealand market. And yeah, off from this launch, we've got really good PR in New Zealand, but also overseas, you know, Australia, the States. Yeah, it's been insane. The question was, what's next? Yes, what's next? So we have global ambition. We really do want to be the next Ben & Jerry's. We think there's a space in the market still for a product that is truly sustainable, but still plays in the indulgence category. And that's what we're trying to, that's the need we're trying to cater for. And one day I'd hope I'd be able to go around the world and try and buy some Eat Kinda.
Do you need any help from us?
Go buy some when it's relaunching, and let us know, follow us on social medias and just anything. Yeah, if you have any feedback, or if you've got any, or we might be actually looking for a marketing person. So there's a marketing person, come see me. Yeah.
Awesome. Questions. Where were the real sticking points in the 2.5 year cycle?
Yeah. There's a few things I missed, which I actually will say now. So what makes our product unique is 2 things. So we're solving a few problems. The number 1 problem we're solving is around food waste. So we're using cosmetically imperfect cauliflower. So we're working with growers. So what happens is there's seasons in the year when there's a lot of cauliflower, there's a flush, and farmers don't know what to do with it, right? Because there's not enough demand. And so, yeah, excess cauliflower. Or number 2, it's just not pretty enough for the supermarkets. It might be too big or a bit purple, or something's wrong with it, but it's perfectly fine for us. So working with growers to get that cauliflower and use it in our ice cream when we need it. And that also from a technical perspective secures our supply chain. That's also been a challenge, probably one of the big challenges, because, you know, farmers are stuck in their ways and they've got certain ways of doing things. And so now we're trying to figure out how do we help them and also help us and also solve this food waste issue. So there has been a challenge, especially in New Zealand, because we don't have that many manufacturing facilities. And so being able to, you know, be like, hey, tomorrow we've got all this cauliflower and now we have to find somewhere to process it. It's a challenge, but we're solving it. I'm sure we will have a really great solution. The number 2 thing is we're going to be the category first home compostable tubs. Everything in the ice cream tub category is plastic. Either it's plastic tubs or cardboard tubs with plastic lining. We're first home compostable, not commercial, but home. You can take it, put it in your garden, it's going to decompose. And this is huge. And so we also, you know, that was a challenge because when we decided to do this brand, we were like, you know, we want to make everything the best it can be, and packaging was a big part of that. So we spent probably 2 years trying to find the right supply and the right packaging to be able to, you know, be truthful to our mission.
So when they get a bunch of cauliflower, do they have to kind of turn it into the flavors straight away, or can they process and leave it?
Yeah, we can process the cauliflower and store it for when we need it. So we don't have to use it in ice cream straight away. So that's kind of some of the solutions we're looking into, you know. Can we figure out a way to process it, store it, and then use it when we need it?
How do you actually process it and get it to a consistency that it can be included in ice cream, number one? And what's the ratio of cauliflower to other stuff?
The number one question is just the magic question, which I can't answer, unfortunately. That is our IP. But number two was how much. So we've got about 13% in the ice cream. But I can't tell you exactly the ratio of everything. It's all on the website. You're welcome to go look at the ingredients.
What are the ingredients like off the top of your head?
Cauliflower, water. There's pea protein in there. There is sugar in there, flavorings. That's all I can remember, but go on the website. It's all on there.
Do you need fat to make it yummy?
Yeah, sorry, we've got coconut oil as the fat source. Yeah.
Coconut oil is yummy. Does the berserk prices of cauliflower affect Millie?
Well, funnily enough, our first manufacturing run for Hell Pizza launch was the week after the cyclones hit in February. So we were all ready to go. We had all this amazing cauliflower that was just going to go to waste. And then from Pukekohe, the farmers we were working with, overnight gone. And we were like, what are we going to do? And luckily we grow it in different regions in New Zealand. So we did have to pay a premium for it, and we got it from another region. So there's things like that you just are out of your control, right? When things like a cyclone or the flooding happens or whatever. However, that's why if we have a supply chain where we can get that cauliflower when it's in excess, that will also help us to secure supply chain. And in the future, you know, there's things like we can contract grow for our volumes as we scale as well. Also, the reason why, like one of the reasons why it's so expensive for consumers to buy cauliflower is because of the insane expectations for retailers to have it a certain way. So that's normally also why the prices go up.
So like the ugly ones are cheaper. Yeah.
If you go to like a veggie market, they do tend to be cheaper than if you went to the supermarket. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing eKinda's story, and it's incredible, like such an interesting ingredient. So amazing. And that wraps up the speaking part of the Hardware Meetup.